What's up, Poke fam? Polkadalt here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, just checking it out, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you. If you could please leave a like, hit the subscribe button, push the notification bell. That would really help me out. We are growing quickly, and I have all of you to thank. If you do happen to leave a dislike on this particular video, I please ask that you, down in the comments, let me know why. I'm doing something a little different this time. We're not opening packs. We're not going over where to find cards. We're not going over my next break or anything like that. We are going to talk about what's going on with Pokemon. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little nervous to make this video because it's not really something that I've done, and I'm kind of curious to see what kind of comments I get. But I love this hobby. I absolutely love it. I've been a collector of Pokemon cards since I was 6 years old. I've been in and out of the hobby, 2012, 2013, got back into it. Then life happened. Then 2016, when Evolutions came out, I loved it. Like, it was so nostalgic for me because as a kid, I wasn't able to obtain a lot of products because my parents tried as hard as they could to find some. But unfortunately, they were always sold out. So now, me being an adult, I'm in control of when I'm able to find cards and what I'm able to purchase. Obviously, my spending power is a lot bigger as an adult than it was a child. So I had to rely on my parents to purchase what they deemed was necessary for me. Now I can collect as I will. So I want to talk about a little bit about what's going on within the hobby itself and what's transpired over 2020 and the beginning part of 2021. It seems like we have the perfect storm happening with Pokemon cards, and the Pokemon Company International is definitely experiencing some growing pains. We have four main things that I think is really contributing to this. We have popularity due to influencers, and we'll go over all these in detail. The pandemic, supply and demand is supply is at an all-time low, or so we think, and the demand is at an all-time high, which is true. And then we have the 25th anniversary on top of it here in 2021. So let's talk about popularity due to influencers. So we all know him. Logan Paul, back in October, broke a first edition base set booster box, and that injected 20-something million people into the hobby potentially. Because of his influence, everybody was like, oh my god, Pokemon is still a thing. Let me get in on that. And I think a lot of people, it helped them revisit their childhood. And some people definitely have gotten carried away with it. We have people coming into the hobby that haven't paid attention to Pokemon in 20 years. And all of a sudden, they see it as a cash cow, which it is at the moment. Like, I'm going to be 100% real with you throughout this video. These are my raw feelings about what's going on. So we have a lot of people coming into the hobby who are just trying to make a quick buck, which free market capitalism, yes, I'm all for that to an extent. But what we need to realize as a community is without children getting into Pokemon, the hobby will die. Collectors and investors that are older, that are adults, can only take the hobby so far. Pokemon is never going to tier the hobby to adults and collectors and investors. They're going to tier it to children. I mean, if you've watched the newest episodes of the Pokemon show, it's still very childlike. And I actually just recently watched Pokemon Journeys. Great show, by the way, so check it out. But nothing has changed in the way that the series is filmed. Like, it's still tailored to children. So we need to remember that as adults. Like, we're setting the example for these kids, and if these kids can't get their hands on cards, they're never going to be interested in it because children have such a short-tracked mind. They want something and they want it now, and if they can't get it, they move on to the next thing. That's how I was as a kid. And I lost interest in Pokemon after about age 7 or 8 when I could no longer obtain the cards. So I feel like we're pushing the hobby towards that direction, and that's not a good thing. Number 2, the pandemic. COVID-19 or 20 or 2021, whatever you want to call it now. COVID has done a few things for the hobby. One, the Pokemon Company had to shut down a lot of their factories, thus dwindling the supply due to the pandemic and legislation and whatever, because trading cards were not considered a essential like commodity, which is true. But on the other side of that, you have, at least here in the US, we as Americans have been getting stimulus money. A lot of us are still employed, so we're still making a paycheck. On top of the stimulus money, we're not going on vacations. We're not going to sporting events. We're not going to entertainment events. So the next best thing is a hobby. The trading card hobby is a safe hobby because you can practice it in your home, provided you're able to obtain the products. Now, online retailers have kind of been milking this market, and they price everything at market, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to get into it, but there's also more cash flow being pumped in and injected into the hobby. So therefore prices are rising because they're able to, because people are able to pay for it because they're not elsewhere using their money for other things that they normally would be. So that's point number 2. So point number 3, supply and demand. I don't think the supply, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think the supply has necessarily changed, but from an outside looking in, it looks like it might have, only because the demand is 5, 10, 15, 20 times more than what it used to be. You know, Sword and Shield era, at the beginning of it, you know, it was coming off the tail end of Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates is, in my personal opinion, is the best modern set that has been released in the past 2 or 3 years. And Sword and Shield caught the tail end of that Hidden Fates hype, and we were still able to find it in stores. Like, it wasn't, you know, you'd go in and you'd see the whole entire shelf cleared. But now, with the popularity continuing to grow, people that wouldn't otherwise be looking for Pokemon cards are going in, they're seeing Pokemon cards, or at least towards the beginning of this issue, like somewhere in between like March 2020 and August 2020. People were just buying whatever they saw because they weren't knowledgeable. They were chasing the money. So I think when push comes to shove, like, uneducated people within the hobby are just trying to cash in on the hype, which the resale game has always been a thing. Look at sneakers, look at graphics cards, look at PS5s and Xboxes. I don't even know what series the Xbox is in now, but reselling has always been a trait that's been in any sort of hobby, and it's something that's always going to be there. In some sense, it's healthy for the hobby because but only in a moral realm. Now, but who's to say what's moral and what's not? Continuing on that, with what's moral and what's not, we live in a cancel culture. So when somebody doesn't agree with something, they make it very known. And it's almost as if they have this idea that, well, I don't like it, so you need to change. And that's the wrong way to look at life. Life is not fair. Somebody is always going to have a leg up on you. Someone's always going to have a leg up on me and on the next guy and on the next guy. But when morals come into play with flipping or scalping, I think there's a healthy point, and then there's a very disgusting, grotesquely unhealthy point, and it's hard to distinguish where that balance lies. So, and I'll touch more on that when I get into later on in the video. Point number 4, the 25th anniversary is the final point that I think has kind of made this perfect storm for Pokemon right now. There's so many eyes on Pokemon. I mean, we have Post Malone doing Pokemon concerts, which I think is fantastic that they're bringing in people that are relevant right now to help hype up the community. Now, I love Post Malone, but do I think he was necessarily the right choice? No, because how many 5 to 12-year-olds with their parents' knowledge are listening to Post Malone albums? Not a whole lot. I think they maybe could have picked a different like celebrity, But I think it's because Post Malone truly loves Pokemon, so it might have also helped get more people involved in the hobby that don't know about Logan Paul, that don't know about Gary Vee or whoever. So I think the 25th anniversary has a lot of hype surrounding it. The 20th anniversary had a lot of hype surrounding it, but not as much as it does right now. I think it's going to be one of the hardest sets to find. It's going to make Shining Fates look like there was a very absorbent amount of it within the supply chains. We're going to be in for a rude awakening because I don't see this ending necessarily anytime soon. And yeah, the Pokemon Company has come out and said that they know that there's a supply shortage. They're going to be reprinting sets. How far back does that go? In my mind, I see that as every couple months they're coming out with something new. I mean, Shining Fates was just released on February 19th, and a month later, this Friday, we're getting Battle Styles. And then a few months later, we're getting another set. And a few months later, we're going to get another set. So how much time and energy and resources are they actually going to put in to reprinting sets? We might get small reprints, but the market is going to absorb that just as quickly as it did with the first waves or the first prints. And likely we're not going to see any reactive effect to that. These are my personal opinions. So next point I want to talk about is, what is a scalper and what are you, and whose job is it to determine who is who? So why I'm talking about this is I've watched a lot of other YouTubers' content. I've watched a lot of videos. There is so much hate going on in this TCG community where it almost seems like envy or jealousy, and anybody who has any amount of product that somebody else doesn't have is automatically labeled a scalper, which I think is wrong. Like, who are you to dictate who a scalper is and who is not? To me, what a scalper is somebody who has no knowledge of the hobby, no interest in the hobby, and they're the people that you see that walk by the aisle and just throw everything in their cart, and then they go to a different part of the store and they look it up on their phone and they see what they can sell it for. I've witnessed this personally, and I've called people out like that. But I've also witnessed collectors that, they're waiting in line for a restock or whatever, and the stocker puts out, 20 Shining Fates ETBs, or let's go back a set, 20 Vivid Voltage ETBs, or even Champion's Path, and there's a line of people, and they take one, and they look around, and they take another one. Do I label them a scalper? No, because, and this is before limits. No, I don't, and I'll get into that in my next point, but I don't think it's anybody's job to label somebody a scalper. Flippers will be flippers. Scalpers will be scalpers. They'll eventually move on once they can't make 200 and 300 times returns on their initial investment. So it's just, it comes down to, there's a lot of negativity going around in the community, and everybody hates scalpers. Everybody wants them to burn. Everybody wants to throw them off bridges. That's kind of disgusting. Like, you're getting violent, or you're having violent thoughts or saying violent words about somebody who's purchasing stuff in a children's hobby. If they want to go spend all their money on Pokemon products and try and flip them for 3 times the price, go for it. But you're not going to sell all of it. You're going to get stuck with that product. And yeah, you might make some money, but eventually you're going to have to bring your prices down because the market is not going to absorb those prices when they might be able to find them elsewhere for cheaper. So I want to talk about me, for example. What am I? Like, I know some of you watching might see this collection behind me and be like, oh, he's a scalper, blah, 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 negative comments. And if you do that, that's fine. Like, I respect your opinion, and I would love to have a conversation about it with you. So I hope if that's you and you're watching this, you leave a comment so we can discuss it further. But I look at myself as a collector, sometimes flipper, very rarely because I have a problem letting things go, and an investor. So To me, I collect ETBs. I want 2 of each ETB that has been released since Evolutions. Whether I'm going to be able to obtain that or not, because some of these prices are super unrealistic, who knows? But I have a pretty good collection going so far, and I'm proud of it. I also collect singles. It's no secret if you've watched my channel before, I'm a Charizard collector through and through. I want every Charizard from Flashfire on, and I'm working towards that goal, and I'm very happy with my collection. But to do that, I don't like to buy them. I love the thrill of opening packs. So a lot of the packs you see behind me are packs that I open personally. I just haven't gotten to them yet because life. Now, some of you might say that I'm overindulgent in my collection or my collection is too big. But who are you to tell me how I can spend my money? I enjoy collecting things, and how I want to collect it, to be honest, is no one's business but my own. So if you feel that way, let me know. Again, I'd love to discuss it with you. But I'm the type of person, like, I go to one Walmart every Friday and every Tuesday morning. And I know that I'm going to walk out of there with at least something. So if there's a whole shelf and I'm the only person there, I'm not going to buy it all because I want other people to get stuff too. Because again, goes back into one of my first points. If children are not able to get into this hobby, it's going to die and my collection will be meaningless. I'm also the person that's walked into a Target and seen the vendor restocking, and I've happened to be one of the first people there, so I catch the restock first, and sometimes there's a line of 30 or 40 people. It's insanity. And people are insane. Like, it's like a shark pit. Like, if you're not first in line and you don't grab as much as you can, you're not going to get anything. But I'm also the person that, like, I'll grab 4 or 5 ETBs and get out of there as quickly as I can. So, 1, I don't get into any violent encounters, or 2, so I don't have stuff taken out of my hands like I've had done before. And I'll walk down the line and I'll see parents with their kids and they're like, hey, is anything left? And I'm like, no, by the time you get up there's probably not, but here's an ETB. I've done that probably the last 2 or 3 times that I've been to Target and happened to catch a restock because I want these kids to get stuff. So, but initially, like, perception is everything because you might see me at the front of the line and grab 5 ETBs and think, oh, he's a scalper. But in reality, like, I'm not even purchasing them. I'm giving them to other people because they otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to get some. And I've seen a lot of that happen, especially in my area here in Colorado. Like, yeah, people are crazy, but at the end of the day, like, there's like this almost unspoken understanding that if there's kids there, they get first dibs. Whether they're able to get to the front of the line or you not let them, but you give them first pick of what you grabbed. Like, hey, I grabbed this stuff. What do you want? And sometimes I've had the parents be like, yeah, we'll take it all. And I'm like, all right, cool. Here you go. Because, again, look at what I have behind me. I have enough product to sustain me, but I always want to be replenishing my supply because I do make YouTube videos and I do open packs in my videos. So I always need to have stuff to make content. So it's really a double-edged sword. I don't know. This is really difficult for me to talk about because I have so many emotions like wrapped into it, and some of the hate that I've seen and witnessed personally. Like, let's go back to that one Walmart that I say I go to every Tuesday and Friday morning. There's a gentleman there who sometimes he gets there first, and we get there 5 minutes before the store opens because if we don't, like, everything will be gone. And he literally sprints. We have a grown-ass man who's probably in his 60s running to the back of the store. And the first couple times that I've seen that happen, I was just like, that's foolish. Like, whatever. If I get there and everything's gone, it's gone. But this last, and he'll take everything. He'll literally just, he's that guy that, like, he'll walk by with his cart and just throw everything in his cart. But so this past Friday, I'd had enough. And I played lacrosse in high school. I played hockey in high school. I was a sprinter. I ran a 4.440. Like, I'm quick, and I'm still quick. And I just had enough, and I was first in line, and he, like, kind of fast ran by me. And I looked at him, and I'm like, you really want to play this game again, dude? All right, bet. And so I took off running. I beat him back to the shelf by, like, probably 10 or 15 seconds. I threw everything in my cart, and everybody else who normally doesn't get stuff, I was like, hey guys, like, they got back there, and I was already away from the area, and I was like, hey guys, I got everything over here, come grab what you want. Like, that, to me, that guy is a scalper. There's a difference between collector, scalper, and flipper, and everybody who doesn't get what they want automatically wants to point fingers at the other guy because it's the easiest thing to do. And jealousy and envy is one of the worst traits that we as humanity have. And you really have to realize and take a look at yourself when you have those thoughts. Just because you didn't get something doesn't mean the other person was right to get it. But in the same breath, there's a difference between getting enough for you and then making others miss out. Like, if there's one ETB or two ETBs and there's 10 people, it's common sense that not everybody is going to get it. The first person there should get one, and the second person there should get the other if they want. Now, if I was the first or second person there and there were kids, I would give it to the kids because it's the right thing to do. You also have to realize that everybody enjoys the hobby differently. Some people are good with getting their two pieces, like, for example, let's take Shining Fates. They get two ETBs, they're good. They open one, they keep one sealed. Are they a scalper for keeping a sealed product to then sell down the road? No, it's smart. My background before I got into the business that I'm in now, which is logistics, is I used to be a financial planner. I had my Series 6, 66, and 7. Like, I was an investment banker. So I think it's very smart and very lucrative because things are going to go up. Like, look at Hidden Fates ETBs before the reprint. People who held on and had foresight that this is a set that's going to be worth money down the road, who held a couple sealed, are they in the wrong for doing that? No. Did they know that there was going to be a reprint? No. So I think when that reprint happened, the market adjusted and prices dropped. Now that the market has absorbed that supply, prices are going back up again. And then we're getting another reprint here with tins, so we should see that price fall down again. Markets have life cycles. They're always going to go up and down. You're never going to be able to predict precisely when it happens. But you can't be mad at somebody for having that foresight to see that something is worth investing in to then get a return later on. That's foolish of you, and it's the wrong mentality. Next, we have Pokemon addressing their supply issues. I think I talked about this already, but yes, we're going to see some reprints, but to what extent? And I think people are really reading into it more than it is, and I don't think we're going to see as much reprinted as we think we are. We have to see Vivid Voltage because it's a core set. They recently just canceled the reprint on that. I'm sure they're probably going to announce another scheduled reprint for it because I'm sure they want to devote a lot of time to it because it's part of the current era and it's a playable set and people are going to want it to help build their decks when tournaments start happening again and so forth. So me personally, the way I'm looking at it is I'm setting my expectations very low for this statement that Pokemon came out with. And I'll be greatly surprised if they overexceed my expectations. But I think that's the best thing that you can do is set your expectations low and have your expectations over-delivered upon. And that's something that I've learned in business is always set expectations low, over-deliver. Like, it's the best way to make people happy. So, and that's another way that you can, help yourself not feel so defeated if maybe it doesn't quite work out the way that you want it to. Lastly, what can you do? So you can stay vigilant. If you're one of those people that are like, nope, not paying a cent over MSRP, then that's fine. But understand that there are people out there who will pay more over MSRP, and that doesn't make them stupid or foolish or selfish. It just means that they're okay with spending a little bit more money than maybe you are. And that doesn't make you bad or them bad or either of you wrong. So next thing is you can be patient, and you like the negativity surrounding this hobby at the moment and the hatefulness, it needs to go away. I mean, I've seen fights break out in stores, which is crazy because again, it's a children's hobby that adults are starting to kind of take over. And before you know it, we're going to see the Pokemon hobby just like the sports hobby, where it's going to be a very lucrative market. A select few people are going to have access to it, and the kids are going to miss out, and then it's going to be for adults only, which I don't think the Pokemon Company International is going to take too kindly to. There are a lot of stores around me who have stopped selling trading cards because of the violence that pursues because of it. So what I think the best thing to do is stay patient, keep a cool head. If you have negative comments to put forth towards others, keep them to yourself because they don't help anything. Being a keyboard warrior doesn't help anything. It just leads to more negativity and more hate, and that is the last thing that we need going on in the world right now, especially when economies are starting to open again and people are starting to get a little bit more freedoms back that COVID has deprived us of. So these are my raw thoughts, guys. Again, I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section. If you agree with me, tell me why. If you disagree with me, tell me why. Let's discuss it rather than, just write it off as just another moron that makes YouTube content and whatever. So if you made it this far and you liked this sort of content and you haven't subscribed already, I do ask that you please hit the subscribe button. Leave a like or leave a dislike if you disliked it. But again, if you dislike it, let me know why. I'd love to learn. I'd love to grow. I'd love to see maybe what I could have done differently. And if you have a different viewpoint, I'd love to hear it. So my name was Polkadot. Thanks for listening to me rant and kind of vent about what's going on. I hope to see you guys again, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.